I brought one book here. If anybody wants to purchase it, price is only $12.99. And from her good heart, she says, if anybody here in the temple buys it, the profit will go to the temple. इसमें तालियां तो बनती हैं भाई, क्या बात है यार, ये उदास बैठे हो आप हैं? आप सबका इस सेमिनार में स्वागत है। आइए प्रभु जी, आगे चलें।
Usha ji is an accomplished local teacher, Redbridge ki, and she's worked with numerous schools and has contributed a lot to our local, to the well-being of our local children. So, Usha ji, आइए।
I'm actually going to speak in English. Is that okay?
Fine, yes.
And do I need to have, can you hear me if I didn't use this? Use this?
Okay, I'll use this. Okay, well, thank you for the introduction. And so my name is actually Usha Chudasama. And yeah, that's okay. But first and foremost, I just want to say that I'm actually a parent. Put your hand up if you're a parent or a grandparent in this room. Everybody? Most people. Okay. All right. Well, you're in the right place. Okay. Because, like Dr. Choda said, I've written this book.
Mr. Choda,
Mr. Choda. Okay. So I've written this book. Your Happy Child, 10 Proven Steps to Raising a Happy Child. And I actually launched this book in November last year. And I invited the VHP members to come. And it's taken all of that time since November. We've had lots of discussions and talks. And it's, you know, we've made this day possible. But I just want to say thank you to the committee for letting me come today. And also to Pratibhaji, who's actually done a lot of the background work to get this organized. So thank you very much. But also, it's such a hot, hot day. And you lot have come and decided to be here. So I just want to say thank you to you for being here. Let me just see. Okay, right. So this is what we're going to be covering. So I'll do a little introduction about what I do and tell you a little bit more about me. Then we're going to talk a little bit about the happy model, because you know I've actually, like Mr. Choda says, you know I've been a teacher and a psychotherapist. I've been working with children quite a lot, and I've noticed that actually they need to be emotionally healthy as well as physically healthy, but they need that emotion as well. And so I've developed a happy model, which is the basis of the book, but that's what I'm going to be talking about today, and offer you some strategies that you can use with your children or your grandchildren, or just pass the message on. So those are the kinds of things I'm going to be covering. So we're looking at the healthy brain, attention and awareness, purposefully communicating, positive emotions, saying yes to life, and then I'll do a short conclusion, and there'll be question and answer at the end. Okay, so I just want to tell you a little bit about me. I'm a psychotherapist at the moment, so I work with children and adults. But before that, I was a primary school teacher. I've worked mostly in Redbridge, a little bit in Enfield, a bit in Waltham Forest, a bit in other boroughs, but mostly in Redbridge. Then I became a behaviour consultant, which meant that I went into about for 6 years, and then I went into about 15 different schools in Redbridge, and I worked with teachers, doing trainings, I worked with children that have social, emotional and behaviour problems, and I help schools to work on their policies so that they can give children the right kind of training. So that's what I did. And then later on I retrained as a psychotherapist, because I just felt like when I was working with these children I didn't get to the core of the issues. So this actually helped me to learn more about the mind and how to be mentally happy. So in 2014 I set up my organisation. It's called Healing Feeling, and in my organisation there's three things that I do. So one is I work individually with young children from the age of 6 onwards, and I also work with adults. So I have a private clinic in South Woodford. I'm also a school counsellor where I work in 2 schools, 2 primary schools in Redbridge. So I work with children under 11 who have mental health issues. Can you believe it? Under 11-year-olds with mental health issues. And I also go into schools and other organisations who have children, like for example care homes, nurseries. I go into and obviously schools, and I do staff training there as well. And I've been doing this for over 10 years, and I've taught the happy model that I showed you to to over 1,000 children, more than 700 parents. I've worked with 8 to 10 different schools using that model, and I've been I got an award for the model, and I've been featured in the Times newspaper. I've been on Sky TV, and I've also been on East London Radio to show the publicity. Okay, but before I start, let me ask you, raise your hand if you think it's really important that children should be happy. Okay, and now raise your hand if you not only want your children to be happy, but you want them to grow in confidence and reach their potential into adulthood and be great citizens. We all do, right? Okay. And raise your hands if you want to know how. Okay, because I'm going to actually be talking about that today. All right. So maybe you are sitting in the audience and you have children or grandchildren, or you know some children who have been bullied in school. And, it hurts you when you see your child bullied, and you just don't know what to do. And it's possible that you've got a child, or you've suffered a loss in your family, and you're noticing that your child's emotions or moods have dropped, but you don't know how to motivate them. It's also possible that you're sitting in the audience and you might know a child that's, being aggressive or very angry at school or at home. And it's also possible that the grades could be dropping, and you just don't know why that might be. But the thing is that all children really need a harmonious home in order to overcome all of those things. And let's just imagine what this harmonious home would look like. So imagine that child coming in who's been bullied, all right? And you just imagine that you have the right tools to give them, and then you sit with them and they feel that you've given them the right tools and strategies. Wouldn't that be great? Yeah. And you also notice your child's changing moods, and you see yourself hugging them and being able to talk to them in a respectful manner, and they feel happier inside because of that. And also you see yourself having that discussion and seeing your child really happy, because that is the thing that we need to do in a harmonious home. But in order to move from those parenting struggles to having that harmonious home, would you agree that we actually need to change our mindsets based on the research that we know about now, especially about brain development, and we now know a little bit more about neuroscience and the importance of creating and cultivating habits of happiness. So that's where we're going to go today. I'm going to help you and talk about those things. The thing is, the bottom line is that when you have a baby, the hospital actually, I don't know if you can see that, but it's a young baby and parents are looking at her lovingly. But the thing is, when you get this baby from hospital, the hospital actually trusts that you're going to be able to look after this baby and for that baby to actually grow up into a good citizen. It's not like driving. You know, with driving, you actually pay somebody to sit next to you. They teach you about the mirror signal maneuver. Yeah, they sit with you, they do the practical exercises, and if you've done something wrong, they'll be there to help you to put that right. But when you have a baby, it's like you're in the driver's seat from day one, aren't you? But then guess what happens? What happens is that parents either, number one, they either parent the way they were parented, which is good, but actually with that comes all of the mindset and all of the baggage from past, from your parents and your ancestors. Also, parents do it a second way. And the second way is that they think about the experiences they had as children, and they start to parent the way they wished they were parented. And by doing that, actually, what they're doing is they're expecting their children to fulfill their own ambitions, their unfulfilled ambitions. And the third way that parents parent is they do a lot of reading, they go into YouTube, they might watch films, they read articles, and then they try to parent according to that. And actually that's a very narrow way of doing it, because then their parents are slightly in denial of what the bigger picture is about parenting. The thing is, I'm not blaming anyone here, because everybody is doing the best that they can. Everybody is doing the best they can. But you know the other picture that you just saw? Well, I was actually that child that was bullied. I was also that child that suffered loss and didn't know where to go to get help. I was also that child that hardened my heart because I got angry. And I was also that child whose grades dropped as a result. And I'm sure that you might have similar memories or stories yourself. But then I became a parent. And I recognized that if I carried on parenting in one of those three ways, then actually I'm just passing on to my daughter the kinds of things that I really didn't want to pass on. So what did I do? I did it a fourth way, which is that I recognized that in order for me to pass on something new, I need to change how I am. I need to change my own mindset. And so that's what I did. So I came to seminars just like this. I went to parenting classes. I went into school to see how schools work. And I did my teacher training. And I did my psychotherapy training. But you know what? In all of the trainings and things I've done, the bottom line is that what's happening in that picture is really all you need to know. The kinds of thing that's happening there, you see the parents are really holding that baby, the baby is looking at the parents, so there's eye contact going on, there's smiling, yeah, there's holding, and actually all of those are skills that we need to give our children, not just when they're babies, but when they are, well, forever, until they're older. So you continue to do that, even when things go wrong, because that's when they need that more. So, did you know that there was a link now between parenting and mental health? That came as a shock to me when I first heard it. And I'm thinking, what? I never even thought about that when I was a parent. Well, I'm still a parent, but when I was a younger parent, I didn't know that there was a link. But now, from all the things that we know from neuroscience and brain child development and brain development, we now know that actually happiness is a byproduct of being emotionally connected and happy. So really we need to cultivate that. So here we go. So here are some statistics. I'm not sure whether you can read them at the back, but I'll read them out. So the number of children calling Childline today has risen by 36% in the last 4 years. Actually, these statistics are from the Office of National Statistics in 2011. So we're in 2018 and it's actually got worse over the years. So these are kids phoning because they can't find anyone at home to talk to, so they're calling Childline. And 10% of those have a clinically diagnosable mental health disorder. What does that mean? It means when I was in a classroom and I had 30 children, 3 out of those had a mental health problem, which I didn't know about. And I'm teaching these children. 3 out of 30. And even worse than that, 75% of those people, or of those children, do not get the early intervention that they need. And I'm not sure how much you know about the Child and Adult Mental Health Service at the moment, but they are only now taking children who are suicidal. So any children who they consider not to be so bad, they don't even take them. So 75% of them don't even get the support they need at an early age. And 4%, if this continues, 4% actually get into severe anxiety and depression or schizophrenia, and those are actual mental health illnesses which then need medical attention as well as mental health. So I just want to show you the next slide just to let you know what happens to those 75% that don't get the support they need at an early age. So the first one on the left, imagine that that's a 10-year-old. Imagine that that's the 10-year-old and the first symptoms are shown at the age of 10. But on average, this is according to research, on average there is a 10-year delay before they even get any support. So imagine that person, that 10-year-old child didn't get any help, and by the time they're 20, they're now thinking, oh my God, I need to now go and get some help for what I'm feeling. But by the age of 20, they might not have the courage to go and do it. Parents might not have the money to go, to let them go to counselling. So what happens? It just stays with them for a long time. And so when I'm sitting at home working with my clients, they tell me in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s and 70s, I get people in my room talking about their mental health issues, which actually started when they were under 11. And so this is why I really want to, I'm really passionate about helping the younger ones, because when you catch them young, you're actually alleviating so many problems, and you're helping the NHS by reducing the bills actually. So And there's a huge focus today on reducing children's stress, because they feel a lot of stress. Okay, so now we're going to go on to the happy model, and we're going to talk about the sorry, I'm just turning this one. Okay, so the happy model is basically based on years and years of working with children and working out a system so that when I'm working with children and I follow this system, it helps all the children. So I always start off with H, which is the healthy brain. I'm going to go into these in a little bit more depth in a minute. The second thing is I help parents and children to understand about their own attention. Wherever their attention is going, that's what's growing. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. So purposefully communicating is about helping them to think about what they're actually saying and how it's actually being received at the other end. Positive emotions is about, positive emotions is saying that actually any emotion has a positive intention. So we embrace our emotions. And saying yes to life is basically noticing and giving gratitude and thanks for everything that we do have in life. So the thing is that because we don't really know what our children are going to be experiencing, say in 30 years' time, or 60 years' time, or 90 years' time, we can't even imagine what they're going to, experience. So really, the thing we need to give them is the grounding and the confidence, the inner happiness, so that whatever life throws them, whatever life gives them, they've got the confidence and the values to see it through. So, because we all want our children to be really happy, don't we? So I'm going to go through the strategies now, but I'm going to give you like a case study of a parent and child that came to see me. Now, the parent, right, we're talking about the healthy brain now. So the parent, let's just call her Ria. That's not her real name. I'm changing the name for identity purposes. And so Ria is a mum, and she has 2 children. One is 9 years old. Let's just say that the 9-year-old called Bobby. All right. So she phoned me up, and frantically she said, in a very panicked state, she said, Usha, look, I hope that you can help me, but my son, he doesn't want to live anymore. And he's really, really upset because he's been bullied at school, and I really don't know what to do with him. I don't know how to help him. Now, although this is a parent whose child is bullied, the strategies that I'm giving you today is ideal for any child that's suffering any kind of illnesses, not illnesses, but emotions. So whether it's anger or aggression, whether it's sadness and upset, or whether it's feeling shy or scared, these particular strategies that I've chosen are ideal for all types, okay? So when I heard this mum, she talked to me in a very stressed way. And when I hear people who are stressed, I know, and I make an assumption here, that their children are also going to be stressed, all right? And what happens is that when they're stressed, well, what is stress? Stress is a response from our body when something becomes too overwhelming for us. That's what stress is. And kids are feeling stress all the time. So with Ria, I said to her that what she needs to do is relearn, or get her body to relearn what it feels like to be relaxed. And I'm going to show you an exercise that I did with her. Are you up for it? Yeah? Okay. So what I want you to do is,
I want you to put one hand on your chest. I'm going to put this down so that you can see. Okay. So I want you to put one hand on your chest and one on your tummy. And this is a strategy that I used with Ria for her son. Remember, he's now becoming suicidal, all right? So I want to help them to relearn how to calm down. So this is a really good strategy. So I want you to just take 3 breaths the way you normally do and notice which hand is moving more. Is it the one on the chest or is it the one on the tummy? So just take 3 breaths and become aware of it. Okay? And if it was the hand on the chest, put your hand up. Okay? And if it was the one on the tummy, put your hand up. Okay, actually, I'm going to say that if you were breathing into the stomach, that is actually the kind of breathing that you want to do more of. If you're breathing into the chest, that means that your body has got used to always doing things and working in a very stressed way. So what I would suggest you do, which is what I said to Ria, is, and show it to your children, is to breathe in, and breathe in for a count of 1, 2, 3, 4, and then hold for 2 seconds, and then breathe out for 1, 2, 3, 4. And do that only 3 times, no more than that, okay? Because you can start to get dizzy. All right, so it does take a little bit of practice if you're breathing into your chest. It does take a bit of practice, but you can get there. And is there anyone here who has got a baby in the family, a young baby? Grandchildren or children, yeah? 4 weeks, even better. So if you have, next time, when they're sleeping, just notice how they are breathing the stomach. Because they haven't learned yet to be stressed. But our children only learn that through us. All right? So the stress, so that's your first strategy, is to actually make sure that you breathe into your stomach. For a count of 4, hold for 2, and then out for 4. And then what you're trying to aim for is 7-11. So breathing in for 7 and out for 11. But that takes a long time to get to that stage, because you're really building the capacity in your body. I haven't got to that stage yet, so. Okay, so that's the healthy brain. Oops. So what this does, it helps your child, well, first of all, it helps you to regulate, okay? But it also helps your child to regulate their emotions. Now, a thing about the healthy brain is that your child needs your brain, it needs the adult brain to help their brain to develop. So there's a part here called the prefrontal cortex. And this prefrontal cortex can only develop, or it develops better if the mother or the father or the carers around are giving them attention. Okay? And that's how, that's one way of helping them to develop emotionally. So bearing that in mind. Alright, so the thing that brain needs is good sleep, good nutrition, and tell your child this, it needs to not worry. Because when you're worried, it actually then affects the hormones in your body as well. You get a lot of cortisol, which then affects how you think, and it affects the anxiety-related thinking habits that children can get into. So remember, breathing, it needs good nutrition, good sleep. Sleep is really, really important. And I know that children with their iPads and mobile phones and stuff, they don't, the Game Boys and things, they don't sleep. And their mind is constantly on that. So bearing that in mind. Okay.
the next bit is attention and awareness. So attention and awareness. Now, the thing with Bobby is that he was actually dealing with the bullying all on his own, and that affected his sleep, and that then in turn affected his concentration levels at school. So then he wasn't able to focus, and when he wasn't able to focus, guess what? His grades went down, and these bullies continued to bully him, and he started to have anxious thoughts, and he started to get worried, and he hit out. Basically, he started to hit out at these bullies, so he became quite angry and aggressive. But then guess who got into trouble? Bobby. It was Bobby that got into trouble because the bullies were quite clever, and they knew when to back off so that he got caught. Bobby got caught. So then I asked him, well, why didn't you say something? Why didn't you tell your mum? And he said, well, are you kidding? If I tell my mum, she's just going to freak out. And you know what? As parents, we do that, don't we? We hear of our children's problems, and the first thing we want to do is make it right, because we feel hurt. And we just want to do the next thing. And actually, that's why children don't actually tell us things, because one, they're dealing with something that is too big for them anyway, and then they tell you, and then you freak out, and they have to then cope with your feelings. Does that make sense? So children then decide that it's easier and better to not say anything. So then what they end up doing is they suppress all of the things, all the feelings that they have, and they don't say anything. And then you remember that slide? You know, that slide where 75% don't get the help they need? Because they've suppressed a lot of their emotions, a lot of times. And that's what we want to try and help them with. So Bobby is, so what I told his mom, so what was my advice to Ria? Right, so my advice to Ria was that whenever and in fact this is advice to everybody here, so when your children come up to you and they are either sad or scared or upset or shy, or like Bobby was very angry at the time, the first thing that we need to do is first notice your own attention. Notice what's happening inside of you, all right? And if you're starting to get triggered, if you're starting to get annoyed and angry as well, then calm that down first. Remember the breathing I just showed you. Use that breathing as a way of calming yourself down. So it's important to manage your state first. You know, like when you go into an aeroplane, right? And if there's an emergency, they tell you to put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you can help others. That's the same thing here. So think about your emotions. If they're bubbling over, then you need to calm them down first. Okay? And then the next thing you do is you get down to your child's level, you sit down and you listen. Now listening, it seems so obvious, but you don't know how many parents I have to show how to do a good listening skill. Listening is where you have to shut your mind chatter off. Because the first thing you want to do is you're thinking, okay, what should I tell the school? What do I need to say? Do I need to call the other mother? Do I need to sit? Shut all of that off. Because in that moment when your child is actually coming to you, they are opening up and they're trusting you to be able to help them. They want you to make them feel safe. Okay? Safety is really important for children, and if you don't listen in that moment and you freak out, they think, okay, she's not somebody that I can go and speak to when I have a problem, which is a shame, really, because you want your children to be able to talk to you. So the next thing you do is you close off your mental chatter, you get down to your child's level, and then all you want to do is reflect back what you're hearing. reflect back what you're hearing from your child. So Bobby said something like, so these two boys, they keep following me in the playground, and one tries to trip me up and the other one runs off, and then they try and tell the teacher, and then they say that Bobby's the one who tripped me up. Or in the classroom they say, you know, they're taking, one takes the pencil away and then they throw it to the other one and they play catch, and Bobby's sitting there without any pencils, and then he doesn't get his work done and he gets into trouble. So he talked to me about all of those things, and I helped Ria to see how to do the listening and the reflecting back, and that's what she started to do. Now, the other thing that I was going to say to you is, if you don't do this already, then allow yourself 15 minutes on a consistent basis to just be with your child and just let them play, and you follow their lead. You follow their lead, okay, and let them lead. So that's the next strategy. So purposefully communicating is about how you then respond to your child's behaviors, all right? Now, all behavior is communication, all behavior, good and bad. So when a child is misbehaving, what they're actually saying is that they are feeling out of alignment with you, with your love. So if your child is misbehaving at some level, they're telling you, please give me attention, please listen to me. And if you listen to your child and you give them attention, what you're doing is you're actually modeling good parenting behavior. That's what they want. They want you to make them feel safe. Okay? So if a child is misbehaving, ask yourself, well, okay, where do I now need to reconnect? Well, how can I reconnect with my child? And one good way is actually spending at least 15 minutes with your child on a daily basis, and make it consistent so that they know that 5 o'clock or whatever time you can do it, I'm going to get my one-to-one time with mommy or daddy or granddad or whoever it is. Okay? It's really important. So now that Ria had heard those strategies, this is 4 ways that you can actually respond. So one is, like I said, listen with your full attention and focus. Second thing is, acknowledge your children's feelings. So whether they are sad, angry, upset, jealous, always acknowledge that. So before you even say anything, just say, okay, I hear that you're really angry, or I hear that you're sad, or, you know, what you've just told me has, I can see that you've been really upset and you've been holding on to that for a long time. Acknowledge that. And you don't know how important acknowledgement is for the whole of your life, I tell you. Imagine going to a party and nobody acknowledging you. How does it feel? Imagine if you went to work and your boss just gives you work and doesn't acknowledge you as, you know, as somebody who's valuable in the company. How does that feel? That's exactly the same for children when we don't acknowledge them. So always acknowledge their feelings. Repeat back what you've heard. That way they know that you have really been listening and that you get it. A lot of it is that children really want to be understood by you. Okay? And give the feeling a name. So a lot of children, you know, in fact, a lot of adults who come to see me for psychotherapy sometimes say, oh, you know, I've got this feeling in my chest and I just don't know what that is. And they've never been given a name for that feeling. So once you give it a name, you're actually helping your child to build an emotional literacy, an emotional vocabulary so they can express themselves even better. Yeah? Emotional literacy is actually something that we're trying to improve in schools. and communicate by seeing your child's perspective. So those are the 4 ways of purposefully communicating with your child. Okay, the next one is positive emotions. Now here, what I say is, after Ria had heard Bobby's story, including feelings of hatred that he had for the bullies and the sadness towards himself and anger, I said to Ria that every